What's up, everybody? I mean, if we had that kind of money, we'd have Milwaukee tools and a two-post lift.
She's noisy. She's about as noisy as a Taylor Swift CD. Oh, everything I buy, Harbor Freight. This ain't Robbie Layton Automotive. We're not blow, tack, static, and nothing. I originally had a whole different video, every time I was spraying something, I was showing you what I was using. I'm going to just kind of run through it. I may put a little bit of that in there, but, and I'm just trying to mic out here. I don't know, it kind of blocks my view, but, using the Anest Iwata LPH 440. And actually, I've only got one 440. This is the one I spray primer with. It's got a 1/8 tip in it. I really like it, but I'll be honest with you. I got one of the $15 Harbor Freight purple guns, and it does, as far as primer, it does just as good. So don't think you have to spend a ton of money. Now I will say, when it comes to laying base coat, clear coat, and even the single stage, I've got the 1.3 and a 1.4. And no, I did not pay for all these. I had a good friend of mine. He had a Harley he was painting. He painted it, and that's all he's ever going to paint. I mean, he doesn't care anything about painting, body work, and I'm to that point about it. But I asked him about buying one day, the 1.4, and I was just going to buy a 1.3 tip. I asked him why not just buy one gun and swap the tips. He didn't want to do that. He had close to $2,000 tied up in these, with these and all the accessories and stuff he had. Actually, it may have been a little, it was around 2,000. And I asked him about buying one. The next day, he brought them all three in, and told me he wanted to give them to me. I wouldn't take them, and it hurt his feelings. Like, he was really upset. He said it was a blessing to him to get to give them to somebody that would use them. So I've used the far out of them here on this truck, and I will have to say I really like them. I used the 1.3. I used the 1.3 on my paint. I used the 1.4 on the clear coat, and I used the 1.8 on all the primer, the epoxy. I usually spray the 1.8 gun with all my primer at about, I filmed part of this in there, but, Big Bertha was running, so. But I set it usually to, with the trigger pulled at the gun on the 1.8 doing primer, around 25, 27 pounds, a little bit more than I do the other guns. The other ones, I dial it down usually around 20 pounds. When I paint the tailgate, I'm not clearing it. I'm probably just going to shoot the paint with the 1.4 tip. I think I painted part of the truck with a 1.4, maybe the jams, or maybe the truck. I kind of liked it better because there's some metallic in the truck. It seemed to let it flow out better. But yeah, it's a good gun, but I've heard good things about the Black Widow from Harbor Freight too. So I mean, if you ain't got the money for like a very, a $500 gun, get you what you can and practice with it. Try it. Like I said, my purple $15 Hobo Freight, it'll spray primer just as good as that 1.8 anest Iwata will. But they're really good guns. I was really appreciative of him giving them to me. I thank him every time I see him for them. And that's just a little bit about the guns I'm using. So I'll try to put a little bit more in the video too as I'm spraying. Can't hear me though. Big Bertha's loud. I spray with Big Bertha here. She's a 60-gallon Ingersoll ran, whatever language that is, but does really good. Got a water oil separator on it with a regulator built into it. She's noisy. She's about as noisy as a Taylor Swift CD. But that's it. I may describe a little bit in here. I'm gonna try to cut this video kind of short. I know painting, watching paint dry is kind of boring, but I'm gonna get some paint laid on here, and hope y'all get something out of it. I will kind of describe my whole process. I mean, I've done the whole truck this way. So yeah, I stripped the whole truck to bare metal. I pretty well done it by hand with a small orbital sander with 40 and 60 grit. Stripped it completely to bare metal, done any of my metal work. I did have to put cab corners in the cab. And that's about the only actual metal work I had to do on that truck. So after I got it all stripped bare metal and all the metal work done, I went over it with the Summits. I used Summit Racing's epoxy. I'll have to say I'm really impressed with it. Mixes 1-to-1 with their catalyst. I've used a gallon and a quart, so 5 quarts, 1-to-1. I've sprayed 10 quarts of epoxy on that truck. And I actually put 2 coats. My first coat was to seal it all up, the metal. I've done my body work over top of that. Any of my filler. I know a lot of people say, don't put filler over primer. From everything I've read, you can. And, I've seen a lot of rust behind body filler before. So I wanted to kind of have the metal sealed before I done the body filler. And there's very little filler in the truck. But this went back over top of the filler to seal all the filler in. Let it cure for a few weeks, scuffed it all again, and sprayed about 3 coats of their high build 2K primer, urethane primer. This, if you dry sand it, which the first time I blocked it, I dry sanded it 220. It will try to, it's not, I've seen a lot worse. It will try to gum up some. As far as wet sanding, it does great. After I dry sand it with 220, go back over it, wet sand it with 320, and then I went back over and wet sanded everything with 500 before I sprayed. Actually, the truck, I think I may have went to 800. Can't remember. But, if you got metallics, you want to get a little bit finer, try to get all the sand scratches out so the metallics don't lay in them. But it all turned out really good. So I done about 3 coats of that. Didn't have to spray no more other than a spot or 2 to do a few more fill scratches. And I've actually used 5 quarts of this. This mix is 4-to-1. Pretty sure 4-to-1. And their primer, clear coat, and I'll use the same urethane activator. And depending on what the temperature is, most everything I've used has been slow. I painted in the middle of, God, it was like 95 degrees, So I got more orange peel than I wanted, even with the slow activator. But yeah, everything's been done with Summit Racing's products, and so far I've really been pleased with them, especially for the money. Paint prices have got ridiculous. I think a pint of silver metallic for my son's Tacoma was $150, around $150, just for the base coat. So pretty much that's all the products I used. Look them up, try them out. If you don't want to spend a whole lot of money and get a pretty decent paint job, I've really been impressed. I shot 3 coats of the single stage on there. This did not need a clear on it. It was a single stage urethane, but I went over it and put about 2 coats of their high solids clear over it, just so I have a little something. If I want to buff it, I can buff it without getting into the metallics and the silver. So that's just just kind of a quick rundown of the products I used on the 83. Yeah, I could have bought better paint, but it's expensive. Well, well, well. Guess what I'm doing? Yeah. Sanding. This is one reason that truck will not have anybody work like I sanded to them. Yeah, I just don't want to sand no more. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with sanding. I know watching paint dry is going to be bad enough. But I'm going to finish wet sanding this out. I went over it with 320. Fixing to go over it with some, maybe if I can find some 600. If I got some 600 left. Sand it through in a spot or two. I don't really like using that. You know, like I said, this is epoxy with some high build 2K primer on it. But where I sand it through, I go over it and hit it with a little bit of, oh yeah, what do you call it? Yeah, the green stuff. Etching primer. So I've hit a few spots with etching. Gonna let it dry. Gonna go over it. Try to find me some. This is dry 400. I'm gonna try to find me some wet dry 400 or 600, so I can get the old water hose going on it again. I just wet sanded it with 320, and gonna go back in here and look around, see if I can find some. That dog needs something. See if I can find some 4 or 600. So I'm gonna go in here and dig around, see if I can find some. I know I got a lot of 1,000, but I'm afraid that'll be a little, little too fine for the paint to grip to. So if I can find some 600, be about right. I've got it pretty good. Got it blocked out pretty good. Here, I'll turn it around, let you look at it. Hang on. Yeah, so as you can see, you know, went over with a 320. But I need to go over and try to get those 320 scratches out. You can see those pretty good. Yeah, right there, you can see them real good. I've got a little bit more work to do around the Chevrolet. Yeah. Yeah, if you ain't never sanded around one of them Chevrolet emblems, you ain't never had fun. There's some pretty deep pits right here. Not really going to worry about them. That was some deeper rust, but I'm going to try to sand some of these others out. And it looks like I completely skipped all around the H and the C and part of the E. And yeah, I started here, and I guess I just got burned out when I got right in there. So I'm going to go in here and see if I can find some 600. 600 would be ideal. But I think I've used it all and got rid of all of it. But I'm going to go in here and dig around. Nothing else, I'll use some 60 on it. That's just pretty well the same without a 0, right? Alright, so I got it all blocked with 500. I'm going to dry it off here a little bit. Kind of look at it. Just using whatever these are, microfiber towel. You can kind of wring them out, keep on drying. They come from, of course, Harbor Freight. Really handy. Waxing, cleaning, stuff that I don't ever do. I just like them because I can wring them out pretty easy and they'll start absorbing the water again. This is looking pretty good. It's good enough. You know, around the lettering, I could do a little bit more. I'll pull the camera over here in just a second and show you. But, you know, I've got the aluminum piece to go in the tailgate. I've not drilled the holes for it. I've been really debating on whether or not to go ahead and drill them before I paint. But I'm kind of wondering if I paint it and like it without it, am I going to regret having the holes? So I'm going to go ahead and paint it, put it on the truck, see how it looks. May not end up putting it on there. It's not perfect. If I had a perfect one, I'd probably just go ahead and drill the holes, and I'm not going to pay what they want for one, and I don't want a Chinese one, Taiwanese, whatever they are, wherever they're made. Oh, I see a little ding. That'll match the one on the bedside. Like I said, I'm not trying to build a show truck. Well, I've got it as far as I'm going to go with it. It could use a little bit more, but it's plenty good enough for me. Like I'm honestly just I'm burnt out sanding. Yeah. So I like the cowl to grill, or not the cowl. This is the cowl panel. I like the grill to bumper filler, and that's pretty well. That'll have it all blocked out and ready to paint. So hopefully here in a day or two we'll get some paint laid on this. Well, I am finished sanding with everything. Like I'm done. I'm burned out over the past 3 or 4 years sanding on this truck. So got this was the last piece. The tailgate, and the cowl could have used probably a little bit more, but I'm done. I've pretty well stripped the whole truck by hand to bare metal and have built it up, blocked it out all by hand, all the way back. So I'm gonna let this dry off, get it cleaned up. I'm gonna go in here and back mask my tailgate. It doesn't really need it, but I just don't want to get over spray. I know it's gonna get Raptor liner inside of it anyway. So, but I still, around the edges, I want to back mask it so I don't get over spray on the edges of the tailgate and stuff and have a rough texture to it. So I'm gonna get in here and get it back masked and get ready to spray some paint. All right, so what I'm doing is folding my tape. I hope you can see that, maybe. To create a soft edge. It's probably unnecessary, but I kind of wanted to do that along the top just to make sure, I don't want a hard paint line. When I painted the inside of the tailgate, I didn't spend a lot of time because, like I said, it's getting a truck bed liner, but a spray-in liner. But I just don't want a hard tape line anywhere right here on this edge. So I've set it back a little bit, and by folding that over, let's see if I can get in there. Oh, shoot. Well, I thought I was filming, and I wouldn't. So what I've done is trying to do a soft tape edge on this edge. Probably not needed, because it's right on this edge. But, I didn't take a lot of time painting this. Just misted, I think, about one light coat or something on it. Wasn't really trying to get good coverage. Just wanted to get some color on it. This will all be getting Raptor linered inside of the bed. So, but I didn't want a hard tape line, right here on this edge until I do that. So, and a way to get a good soft edge, take your tape, well, I don't know if you can see it, and fold it over. There's a lot of videos out here. So if you fold that one edge over, that allows that to float up off the panel and let the paint flow in. That'll keep you from having just a hard tape line. If you just paint to this side and peel it off, you're going to have build up close to the thickness of the tape and have a hard edge. This works really good. I've done it in all the door jams because I jammed the truck out before I painted it. So I done it in all the door jams right through here, and I mean you can't see a tape line anywhere on it. So it works out really good. Ooh, sorry. It's aggravating to do, though. It is aggravating to fold that tape up. I see these guys fold it over their knee, and that's what I do. Let me see if I can get a little demonstration going here. All right. I'm going to try to do a little easy little demonstration. You can find a lot of videos on how to do this. I'm going to try to do it backwards so you can see it. So I'm going to take the tape, fold about a third of it over onto itself. This tape's almost too narrow. 1-inch tape really works better. Keep your finger back here as a guide, about that far over. Lay it over on your pants. And just as you streak it across, it will fold that edge back over to where it doesn't stick down, and it'll give you a good soft edge, especially in door jambs, changing body panels. I've done it a lot with this truck. It works really good. It's aggravating. It's a pain to get that folded over just right. I see these guys rip it off, like it's nothing, and just pull the whole roll of it off over their leg, but I'm not that good. All right. So this ain't Robbie Layton Automotive. We're not blow, tack, static, and nothing. What I do, I use this for everything. I'm gonna clean it good with this foam and glass cleaner. Come back behind it with wax and grease remover. I have a tack rag, tack cloth. Normally I do not like using those, but I had read multiple reviews on the cheap blue ones from Harbor Freight. I know everything I buy, Harbor Freight. But those tack cloths are probably the best tack cloth I've ever used. If you've ever used one before, you know how sticky they get. You can even get residue on the body panel all over your hands. These blue ones are not that way. I mean, they are perfect. They just have the right amount of tack to get all the dust off. Am I going to get trash in this? Yeah, sure. When I painted the truck, I sealed all this up with plastic, put some 3 fans in the door, HVAC filters in the window, and I got, I think, 2 specks of trash in it. The hood didn't turn out on the truck as good as I wanted. I was going to take the wheels off, set it down, but me and my gut trying to lean over without getting into the fender, it got more dry spray on it than I wanted. Plus, it was like 95 degrees the day I painted it. It was hotter than a 3-balled Tomcat. But I'm going to get these cleaned up, wax and grease removed, and then I'll flip you around when I mix the paint up. That paint that I have mixes 4-to-1. I don't think it takes a reducer. We'll look on the can and see. But like I said, I've had really good luck, especially with the epoxy primer. For the money, the Summit Racing epoxy, it's been pretty durable. Another thing I done the truck when I had the cab and all off of it, I painted the frame with POR 15. I know a lot of people dog that stuff, and I don't like the way, I did not top coat it. I don't like the way it has not really faded. I kind of like the looks of it. I mean, it's went to a satin black. I kind of like that. I don't like that it's not UV protected. But I will tell you that stuff is durable. When I shortened the frame, I had the truck ready to paint as a long bed. When I shortened the frame, tried to grind some spots down, getting the frame ready. Yeah, it was rough. That was some pretty durable stuff. If a person took it, top coated it like they recommend, but it being on all the frame, I wasn't concerned with it. So it looks better than what it did. Wax and grease remover. I'm gonna go over it with it, and I am gonna tack rag it with one of those. I've got one of those I was talking about from Harbor Freight. Got a lot of dust laying on it where it's been sitting in here for a few days. So I'm gonna try to get most of it off, and hopefully they turn out pretty good. I hope. I know there's probably gonna be more trash in this than there were the rest of the truck, but it's going to turn out all right. Like I said, I've got the aluminum insert, the Silverado insert to put in the middle of it. So, most of it's going to be covered if I do decide to use it. I kind of wanted to drill the holes for it before I painted it. But then I got to thinking, well, I may paint it and end up liking it so good that I don't want to put it on there. So we're going to see. We're going to see how it all goes. I'm going to finish getting this wiped down, get the paint mixed up, try to get it laid on there. We're leaving out for a vacation in the morning, so I want to try to get these done so they could set while we're gone for the week. Go back over it with a tight cloth, knock any of the dust off, and be ready to lay some paint down. I'll try to get you all in here. All right, we're gonna get the paint mixed up. I just use these cheap measuring cups. Actually, they're not cheap. Nothing in this country is cheap anymore. But this mix is 4-to-1. You can do 4-to-1-to-1 with reducer. But I've never had never had issues. Like I said, I use the 1/4 tip when I painted this truck with this stuff, and I don't reduce it. I've got the fast, medium, and slow activators here. I think I'm going to use the medium. I was kind of debating on which one to use, but I think I'm going to go with the medium. And this quart's not out of the truck getting painted. I don't think I have enough in that gallon to do it. So, I mean, the tailgate may not match exactly, but you know, it'll be good enough for who it's for. So, if you can see these 4-to-1, I want at least 16 ounces. That'll put me at 20. You know what? I'm gonna go with it. I'm just gonna wing it. See how much I've got in this quart. Two. That's just gonna make me probably 13 or 14 ounces. That should be close to enough. Close. We're gonna go with it. We're gonna try. You know, if I can get 2 good wet coats on it. You know, the worst thing, if you've ever sprayed metallic, silver metallics especially, and pewter, that's some of your worst colors to paint. You know, it's turned out really good. I didn't get any zebra striping on the truck. I got a little bit of blotching on the hood. Like I said, when I was leaning over me and my fat gut, trying to get to it, made it kind of hard to reach to the middle. So I got some dry spray and a little bit of blotching on the hood. But for the most part, all in all, the sides of the truck, the rest of the truck, it all turned out really, really good. But get the most of it off of there. So I'm gonna go up to my next 2, right about there. You know, I know the pro body shops, they weigh everything out, so I don't have nothing like that. I'm not a professional at all. I just don't want to pay somebody to do it. I know a guy that had a 86 or 87 model like this. Took it to get it painted. One of the cheapest places he could find. It's $10,000. All right, got everything tacked off. All the dust that's going to be off of it's off of it. They look pretty good. I'm gonna throw my respirator on here, hook up the air hose, and get to spraying. I probably won't turn the camera back around, but I always filter the paint before I pour it in the gun with a paint filter. So that's all you'll miss on that side. Well, got it all painted, and yeah, I got mixed emotions. There's more orange peel on the tailgate than they are any of the rest of the truck, but I got a buddy, and I get it going. I may drive it over, let him try to do a little wet sand and buffing on it. Let him see if he can straighten some of it out. I mean, it's not awful, but it ain't the best. It's got a lot more in it than the rest of the truck. The rest of the truck doesn't have. It's got some. I mean, I don't know if you can spray it without orange peeling, but, and like I said, my fault. Should have used a slow activator, but I wanted it to hurry up and dry up. It's been so dry here. You know, I didn't want dust and stuff in it, so kind of, if I had a paint booth, been a lot different. You know, I'd have used the slow. It could have took more time to cure it out, laid down, but you know, all in all, it's not bad. At least it's the same color as the truck, and I can get it put on now. Kind of moved them out here in the sun. There's old poor boy Otto. Let them sit here in the sun, let it cure on out. You know, really, the tailgate should have been painted up. You know, they say the metallics, you want to spray it the way it's going to be oriented on the vehicle. Orientated, whatever. You know, that way the metallics lay the way they're going to lay when they're on there. But that's going to be it for this one. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment,